Let's watch this for now.
Just
Another alien video, and then let's watch Bermuda. I watched DB Cooper, yeah. I have a 140k stance on alien life. I have this new theory, right? That I genuinely believe this. Imagine, right? We get the message, hey, aliens are about to land. They just entered the solar system. We can track them. They're coming. They're gonna land. I reached a point where I would welcome them. Because if they just come to kill us, well, we're fucked anyway, right? Nothing you can do, it's over. But if they come to maybe guide us or help a bit, here's the point. We reach the point. Listen to this. Listen to this mind game. Listen to this mind game. Aliens are landing, and they're saying, hello, human friends. Listen, man, we kind of been looking at you guys. You guys are kind of fucking up. Your society kind of sucks. You guys are killing the planet. How about we give you some help? How about that? Who would you rather follow? Your leaders, Xi Jinping, Putin, Merkel, Trump? Or you would follow that fucking alien? How many people in this experiment would rather listen to the aliens? Because alhamdulillah, I think I fucking would, man. You can't get more fucked than it's already happening anyway, you know? That's the point we reached on this planet. Millions, if not billions, will join the aliens. And be like, hey, you take care of us, man. We're listening, bro. Sure. I'm a Xenos trader. I'm a Gene Stealer. Oh, I listened to Gene Stealer audiobook yesterday. Thank you, Jafet, for the 20, man. Is Jafet an alien? Is he funding me? Thank you for the 20. The aliens, but even if you think the aliens are trying to corrupt us, that's what politics do. Capitalism, the Western world, it's all about corrupting you. It's all about putting commercials on your phone. They're fucking listening right now. I say bomb, bomb, bomb on a fucking list. What are you thinking? Doesn't matter if the CIA takes all your shit, or the aliens do, man. Thank you, Jeffet, for the 20, bro. Thank you very much.
In early 2007, this silent black and white video was uploaded via use on a conspiracy and UFO-centric forum called Above Top Secret. The user claimed the video depicted a disc-shaped UFO outmaneuvering a fighter jet somewhere off the coast of Mexico in the mid-2000s. They had supposedly gained access to the video while serving on board a US aircraft carrier and claimed to have smuggled a potentially classified material off the ship. While some members of the forum chose to believe their story, others were not so easily convinced. For instance, the video was hosted on a website belonging to a group of German film students, which led some to denounce the clip as an attempted hoax. Even those who believed it could be genuine still complained that it was a totally uninspiring video.
That's a good one, man.
Fuzzy dot.
Good one. What a fucker.
Over a decade later, this long-forgotten video suddenly resurfaced as part of an article by the New York Times. The video was now linked to a secret government-funded program and was even corroborated by a credible eyewitness. What had initially been dismissed as a hoax turned out to be real. The video was said to depict a genuine encounter between US Navy fighter jets and some sort of unidentified craft. A second black and white video of a similar yet completely separate incident was also featured at the beginning of the article, except this one.
That video has been debunked as fake, right? I've seen this one. I've seen this. But people in chat saying this has been proven fake.
My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Yeah, I've seen this one.
These two videos, along with a third released a few months later, spread across the internet like wildfire.
It's a fly on the
sections
lens.
and discussion threads were dominated by unrestrained speculation about aliens and paranormal phenomena. The skeptics, meanwhile, took it upon themselves to analyze every pixel in every frame in the hopes of uncovering some neglected clue that could identify these fuzzy blobs. Any lingering doubts about the video's authenticity vanished with the release of an official statement by the Department of Defense confirming that the videos depicted real events involving unidentified aerial phenomena.
Damn.
So, what exactly are we looking at?
Thank you, Regu.
The first video was recorded off the northwestern coast of Mexico in late 2004. The story behind it has been recounted by more than a dozen naval officers, and it goes like this.
Like a dozen
in early
officers saying
November
that
of 2004, a naval
happened.
strike group led by the aircraft carrier the USS Nimitz was conducting pre-deployment exercises about 100 kilometers southwest of San Diego. Starting around the 10th of November, radar technicians aboard a guided missile cruiser, the USS Princeton, were puzzled by a series of unidentified radar tracks near San Clemente Island. The tracks did not resemble any known aircraft and would
like, I believe that really happened. I don't think they make this shit up, dude.
sporadically appear in groups of 5 to 10 at a time. Suspecting a malfunction of some sort, the recently
And you know what's creepy? These unidentified objects have the same pattern than the one in the 60s. Like these little groups.
The Spy 1 radar system was taken offline and recalibrated. Once the system was brought back online, however, the tracks had only become shorter.
I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid, guys. I'm starting to feel good
Among
about
those
this.
on board were Senior Chief Operations Specialist Kevin Day, who was an expert on the Spy 1 radar system and had 18 years worth of experience at the time of the incident. Day observed firsthand how these unknown targets alternated between slightly strange and physics-defying maneuvers. Sometimes a cluster of tracks would appear out of nowhere and slowly drift south. They were flying too high to be birds, too slow to be conventional aircraft, and did not follow any commercial airways.
From years ago.
Other times, they would seemingly descend from space and drop all the way down to sea level in mere seconds.
Fuck off.
These phenomena continued for several days, and every time they reappeared, the crew would run up to the bridge and use a pair of heavily magnified binoculars to see these tiny specks moving erratically in the distance.
Fuck off.
On the morning of November the 14th, the crew on board the USS Nimitz were gearing up for a scheduled air defense exercise. They had not yet been informed of the unusual returns picked up by the Princeton. It was a cloudless day, and the sea was calm as pilots took to the skies. One of them was Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Kurth, who was flying a single-seat FA-18 fighter jet when he was contacted by the Princeton. He was instructed to investigate an unknown target approaching from the south. The Princeton also wanted to know if he carried any weapons, to which the answer was no. Kurth made his way to the specified coordinates, but did not pick up anything on sensors. As he looked down towards the ocean, however, his attention was immediately drawn towards a turbulent patch of water. Kurth claims to have seen a roundish disturbance on the ocean, which appeared as though something was submerged.
Now it's getting scary. This is not where they're getting me.
It reminded him of a
this is 2017. I don't think these guys are fucking lying.
Or ship slowly sinking into the ocean. The Nimitz strike group did include a nuclear-powered submarine named the USS Louisville. The Louisville was in the vicinity when Kurth made his observations,
so
the journey may indeed have been caused by a submerging submarine.
Wow.
If not, then whatever was in the water managed to evade detection by the Louisville's extremely sensitive sonar.
Bro, it's 2004.
Kurth was soon joined by a squadron of two tandem-seated F-18s, the lead aircraft of which was piloted by Commander David Fravor. Much like Kurth, Fravor claims to have seen a disturbance on the ocean, which he described as having a vaguely cross-like shape. He thought it resembled a downed airliner and described its size as much larger than a submarine. While Kurth eventually circled back for the Nimitz, Fravor and his wingman decided to get a closer look. As they began their descent, they noticed a white, capsule-shaped craft moving erratically above the disturbance. At first, they thought it could be a helicopter, but there were no rotor blades. In fact, it was perfectly smooth. No markings, no exhaust.
That guy was actually on Joe Rogan? What? The guy who flew that plane was on Joe Rogan?
The UFO appeared to maintain a consistent altitude, but made rapid lateral movements with no visible means of propulsion.
Isn't that so scary? That they said the same every single time. Oh, I'm fucking starting to believe in this. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, they always said no propulsion, quickly moving. There's a fucking pattern, and that's scary. If you have 1,000 liars and they all say the same thing, that's a bit weird.
According to Fravor, it was a bit smaller than an F-18 and resembled a giant mint of Tic-Tac. As Fravor continued to descend, his wingman decided
to... though. Well, does anyone know that? Did, like, Soviet Russia ever talk about this stuff? Or maybe they kept it hidden? Did China ever talk about this? Did Europe ever talk about this? Obviously, it's a great point that it's all in America, but we don't know the data here. I would guess that Russia and Iran and all that stuff has stories like this. But we have no proof right now.
Maintain altitude and kept
Russia and China would never talk about it.
Flying in a spiraling downward motion, Fravor was getting closer and closer until suddenly the UFO realigned its axis and began to climb at an incredible rate of speed. Both of them were now flying in a circle. The UFO was coming up while the F-18 was going down.
I don't believe this.
In an effort to...
This is getting completely drugged now. What? That human being who's still alive flew in circle with a Tic-Tac.
Close the distance between them, Fravor made a final aggressive turn before the UFO rapidly accelerated up to a hypersonic speed and disappeared in a matter of seconds. As they looked down towards the ocean, it was now perfectly calm. Okay, but what about the video? Well, so Fravor and his wingman made it back to the Nimitz. They landed and ran into a different flight crew preparing to head back out. They told them what they had seen and to be on the lookout for anything out of the ordinary. Soon thereafter, another tandem-seated F-18 took to the skies.
It's actually Vegeta
this
in that
time,
fucking
it was
capsule.
outfitted with an advanced targeting forward-looking infrared camera system. This ATFLIR pod is controlled by the weapons systems operator seated behind the pilot, and the backseater of this flight was Lieutenant Chad Underwood. A few minutes after departing the Nimitz, Underwood detected something on his radar. The unknown target was directly ahead, a few tens of kilometers away. The target's behavior was erratic and unpredictable. Its altitude and airspeed were in...
I don't understand. It's 3 years after 9/11, and the entire fucking United States cannot figure out what that shit is. All they have is 2 pilots. Why don't you send, like, everything?
Constant flux. According to...
Like, dude, there's a fucking plane over New York that doesn't respond. You send planes there and you fuck that guy up. But there's fucking Tic-Tac aliens in the West Coast and no one cares? You send 2 people?
Underwood, it simply did not abide by the known laws of physics. At some point, Underwood managed to get a lock on the target with the ATFLIR camera. And this is when the much publicized video was recorded. At the beginning of the video, we see a UFO being tracked in infrared.
Fucking Nokia had better quality than this.
Underwood then switches to visible light, revealing an out-of-focus, rounded mass in the distance.
Pussy!
He then switches back to infrared.
But you should watch like that debunks and explains most of these phenomena. Sorry to be a bore about it. Appreciate you, Tommy, Mary X Moss.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the $10, bro. He just gave me a video that debunks this. I might actually watch this.
And alternates between 2 different zoom levels on multiple locations. Not much happens until the very end of the video, when the UFO suddenly disappears off to the left-hand side of the screen. As the target was too far away to be seen with the naked eye, neither Underwood nor his pilot ever made visual contact. The Princeton continued to detect anomalous radar tracks for at least 2 more days, and according to Senior Chief Day, they eventually disappeared near the Mexican island of Guadalupe.
I don't know, my opinion is all bullshit.
In complete isolation, utterly divorced from any and all surrounding context, this video is extraordinarily unremarkable. It's a fuzzy blob against a featureless background. It's only when you place it in the middle of these truly remarkable stories that the video itself becomes remarkable. When skeptics and debunkers claim that this is a distant airplane, I understand why many are so opposed to that explanation, because the witness accounts say otherwise. A distant airplane can't just zip around the sky as if gravity was non-existent. It doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, we don't see any of those physics-defying maneuvers in the video. In fact, this fuzzy blob does not do much of anything until the very end, when it suddenly disappears off to the left-hand side of the screen. Now, some claim this is due to a sudden acceleration.
I have to laugh. There's a guy in chat who says 1.5 and I never even realized there's an island belongs to Mexico. Dude, when they said Guadalupe, I was like, wait, there's an island there?
I
didn't know either.
But it could also be something as simple as the camera losing its target lock. It's difficult to tell. Underwood himself is uncertain about what happens at the end, as he never made visual contact. The witness accounts, meanwhile, are so extraordinary they are difficult to believe. If any regular person claimed to have seen a Tic-Tac shaped UFO moving erratically in the sky, a few would listen.
Good. Like when a lie or when someone says something that's so fucking weird like this, then it kind of makes sense, you know?
But when that same story is told by some of the most qualified observers on the planet, it makes you wonder. And it wasn't just one or two. These UFOs were either seen or tracked by dozens of experienced aviators and sailors for nearly a week. They were seen from multiple vantage points and tracked by one of the most sophisticated radar systems in the world. To think that all of them are lying or all of them were deceived by some prosaic phenomena seems absurd. We have no choice but to take them
That's
at
always the
their word.
problem. You have to take them at the word.
We don't have the radar
There's
data,
no real...
the radio communication logs, nor any corroborating evidence. Well, except for this pixel-deficient footage, I guess. Some of the witnesses claim there was actually a much longer and much higher resolution video than the one we see today. They claim to have seen this video on board the Princeton, and that the shape of the UFO was perfectly clear as it violently maneuvered around the screen.
It makes sense.
What's interesting about this claim is that when the video was first leaked online back in 2007, the anonymous leaker claimed they had 4 different versions of the video in.
But let's say for a second, hypothetically, they're really aliens. Why would they not hide themselves more? Why would he make a circle with the jet fighter? Why would they not be more covered about it?
Their possession.
Doesn't make much
2 of
sense.
them were said to be shorter, but the 4th was said to be twice as long and supposedly showed more UFO movement.
Why would they care about us?
Unfortunately, this extended version has never seen the light.
Imagine one day... Isn't there a South Park episode about it? Imagine one day aliens come here and they're like... And we're like, hey, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. And they're like, where are the dolphins? We have to talk to the dolphins. The #1 intelligent animal on this earth. And they just ignore us. Imagine aliens come here and just ignore us. Wouldn't that be the biggest flex, dude?
Of day.
That's the very first episode
some of the
ever.
witnesses are to be believed, it likely never will. You see, on the evening of November the 14th, all the footage and data from these events were supposedly erased. Witnesses claim that 2 men arrived via helicopter who then collected the relevant data before having all the tapes and hard drives wiped clean. Witnesses from both the Nimitz and Princeton...
The problem is, we humans, we always have set up ways to think, right? We think aliens are these intelligent... Aliens are either warmongers that want to kill us instantly, or aliens are super intelligent. What if aliens are just memers? You never think about this. You never know in the universe. What if aliens are Twitch chat? What if an alien is just... There's just some random kid flying around the universe trolling us.
Recall such
you
a
never
visit
know. You
and
literally, that's serious. You
like
fucking don't know, man.
Before.
You don't know.
This has understandably led to speculations
like
of some sort of
kind of assholes
that these sightings were that of top-secret military drones or aircraft. While the US military is undoubtedly experimenting with all kinds of cutting-edge technology, it is difficult to believe.
Also, sorry if I'm always doing this, but there's this amazing theory, right? If you look at human society and the way everything is going with our culture, race, and society, who will be the ones that will space travel? It is the elites. It's the rich. It's, the NASA can't keep up. Elon Musk is going there. They're all Jeff Bezos. What if the aliens we interact with are only a small representation of the society of an alien race, right? We always think when aliens land here, they're all like this. No, look at human beings. Either your Uncle Dave is gonna meet a new race, or Elon Musk. It's a very different representation of the race.
By Lisa, singular chicken nugget.
Thank you for the 5. I will. She hates chicken McNuggets though. Thank you. You never know. if aliens interact with us, it might just be their elites that don't even maybe interact with the approval of their...
Neil deGrasse Tyson is very good at simplifying or explaining science, and this is one of my favorite.
You're sending me 20 videos now, though, man. Thank you for the donation. I will see if I can do it. You're sending me too much now, guys.
Gravity-defying, hypersonic flying Tic-Tacs. If so, they would possess technology so
this could
far
just be
beyond
Elon Musk,
any...
right? One day, and be like, oh, I'm just checking shit out. And you and me, we can't interfere with him.
Anything known to the
like, why do we always think that these aliens are so united?
Like, it would be akin to magic. And this was back in 2004. Don't get me wrong, 2004 was a magical time compared to
current year.
But it was still aggressively 2004.
Flat ball! From a disc to a ball right before your eyes. Catch it, flatten it, and let it fly.
We found it.
Flat ball!
I really don't know what to make of this story. After reading, watching, and listening to so many interviews with the people who were there, I'm left with a distinct impression that they're telling the truth.
That's very interesting.
The video, on the other hand, does little to support their claims. Sure, this fuzzy blob may be unidentified, but it's not unexplainable.
Imagine you're that guy that had a dogfight with a Tic-Tac and no one believes you. I feel bad for him. Right? No one is gonna believe you, bro. No matter if it's the truth or not. Apo, I said I know. The USS Theodore encounters. It's only Americans, man.
The second and third videos were recorded off the southeast.
There's no fucking USS Vietnam from the fucking Viet Cong and the Indian Sea. It's always these motherfuckers, man.
States
fucking Rihanna and Dwayne Rock Johnson over here.
While those who recorded the footage have yet to come forward, some of their crewmates and fellow pilots have. And according to them, the story goes like this.
Because they have the better tech?
In the summer of 2014, a naval strike group led by the aircraft carrier the USS Theodore Roosevelt was conducting pre-deployment exercises somewhere off the coast of Virginia. Much like with the Nimitz encounters, the first sign of trouble came in the form of anomalous radar tracks. Following a fleet-wide upgrade of aircraft radar systems, pilots had begun to pick up unidentified targets while conducting routine training missions. The tracks were initially dismissed as false positives, but their behavior was unlike anything they had seen before. Gravity-defying maneuvers, hypersonic velocities, and other mystifying shenanigans.
That is where I think it gets scary. The behavior is always the same. It's hard to keep up a line like this if the behavior is always the same.
Attempts to intercept these UFOs were initially unsuccessful. Lieutenant Danny Acoin claims that on 2 separate occasions he tried but failed to make visual contact. Then, one day, a squadron is said to have narrowly avoided a mid-air collision with one of these UFOs.
Fuck off!
The 2 jets had been flying in tandem, no more than a few tenths of meters.
What that makes me feel instantly, again, I'm just an idiot on Twitch, that it's coming down space debris
apart,
but
when something flew right in between them.
This is a fucking movie.
That something was oddly described as a cube encased by a translucent sphere. Lieutenant Ryan Graves, who spoke to one of the pilots once they had landed, claims the experience had visibly spooked them. So much so, the squadron filed an official safety report.
What the fuck?
According to Graves, this was far from an isolated incident. These UFOs were allegedly seen by dozens of pilots for several months and could remain airborne for up to 12 hours at a time. Yet, despite growing concerns among the Roosevelt crew, training missions continued.
That's starting to really get me now, guys. I'm starting to believe, bro.
By early 2015, the Roosevelt strike group had made its way down to the coast of Florida, which is when the 2 now famous videos were recorded, both of which are said to be short clips taken from much longer and higher resolution footage. We don't know much about the circumstances, as the officers involved have chosen to remain silent, but
it's
let's
Russian
take a look
satellites
at the
falling down from space. There's something to support that evidence. Hasn't Vladimir Putin just last month destroyed one of their satellites? That is actually truth.
Yeah, you're wrong, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
I think that really happened, man.
The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Because he said, bro, that's so real. What the fuck, man?
That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
So, there are a few things to unpack in this one. If we ignore the audio for a moment and focus solely on the visuals, The thing that immediately stands out is the apparent rotation of the UFO. I use the word apparent because some debunkers claim that this rotation is an optical illusion. You see, the ATFLIR pod is equipped with something known as a derotation mechanism. It's meant to counteract the rotation of the camera so that the orientation of the image stays the same, also known as image stabilization. What may not be stabilized, however, are certain artifacts produced by the lens of the camera. You can even try this yourself. Aim a camera towards a light source, rotate the camera, stabilize the footage.
But yeah, the one thing I never get is, but it's the infrared camera. Why is the quality so bad? Every little monkey in the streets in 2014 has a fucking amazing phone camera, and the military has this shit?
Orientation of the image is preserved while these spokes of light rotate along with the camera. So much like how the light from this light bulb is producing a lens flare,
it's far away,
the infrared radiation from this UFO
this is not 2004
said to be
anymore.
producing a lens
this is
flare.
now 17.
In other words, the bunkers claim it is the camera and thereby the glare which is rotating,
14.
not the UFO itself. While this explanation seems perfectly reasonable to my untrained eyes, things get a bit more confusing once we bring back the audio.
Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
If this rotation is merely the result of image stabilization, why would the two pilots fail to recognize it as such? Surely they, if anyone, would know what that looks like. And they're not alone. Both Lieutenant Graves and Acoin believe it is the UFO which is rotating. Furthermore, an expert on the ATFLIR system has very plainly stated that this is not an optical illusion.
They were new pilots?
But this is not the only puzzling comment made by the two pilots.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
So the radar is supposedly detecting a whole fleet of UFOs, which are all traveling crosswind. I mean, if what we're looking at is something prosaic, like the blooming exhaust of a jet engine, these comments don't make a whole lot of sense. I would love to hear what these two pilots have to say if they ever decide to come forward. Until then, all we can do is speculate.
Yeah, go to Joe Rogan, pilots. Nothing makes me want to play Stellaris. I've seen this video, I've seen this. When they released that. That looks so real, man. What the fuck?
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly!
This video may seem very striking at first, but it is arguably the least interesting of the three. Once again, let's ignore the audio for a moment and focus solely on the visuals. Unlike the previous two, the UFO in this one is colder than its surroundings, so the ocean below is radiating more heat than whatever this is. It may look as though the UFO is traveling at high speed, but this is likely the result of parallax.
It's Sonic.
In short, aircraft go fast, camera fixed on not so fast UFO, UFO appear to go fast. Some say the UFO is near sea level and therefore the parallax explanation doesn't work, but we can actually derive its altitude using the numbers on screen and find that that is not true. Everything seen in this video is consistent with a balloon or some sort of debris floating in the wind. The commentary by the pilots, however, does once again introduce a bit of confusion. I mean, it seems odd for the pilots to be so excited over something so mundane, but without hearing from the pilots themselves, we can do nothing.
Maybe they're just not the brightest people ever? I don't know. Maybe their job is so boring they're really excited about this shit. It's the military after all.
The person responsible for making these videos available to the public is a man named Lou Elizondo. Beginning in 2008, Elizondo was the head of a secret government-funded effort to investigate UFO sightings known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. By late 2017, however, Elizondo had grown so disillusioned with the government's lack of interest in the program's efforts that he decided to resign. In his resignation letter, Elizondo writes that certain individuals within the government are staunchly opposed to UFO research, that inflexible mindsets and political contention essentially prevented him from doing his job. He portrays the government as virtually unconcerned about an issue which he believes could pose a threat.
Listen, Chad, when I was in the army, I learned one thing. You have very expensive equipment and a lot of bored idiots, okay?
To national security, so much so that he felt it necessary to resign in protest. This seemingly uncaring attitude was also noted by witnesses of both the Nimitz and Roosevelt encounters.
Very sus.
For instance,
very
Lieutenant Ryan
sus.
Graves recalled that the commander of the Roosevelt strike group seemed completely unfazed by this video. On the day when it was captured, he supposedly looked at it for 5 seconds, then walked away without saying a word. Some of the senior officers on board the Nimitz and Princeton are said to have had an equally muted response. These are very bizarre reactions to potential airspace incursions. You'd think they'd want to make sure these UFOs are not some kind of threat.
Maybe they know they're not a threat.
Near mid-air collision reported by one of the squadrons from the Roosevelt seems especially concerning. To account for this apparent disinterest, many point to the severe stigma surrounding the topic of UFOs. Regardless of how inaccurate it may be, the term UFO has, for many, become synonymous with aliens and spaceships. So much so, the government now favors the term UAP, specifically to avoid this unwanted association. Whether sightings go unreported or uninvestigated, the argument is that people choose to look the other way because they're concerned about their reputation. No one wants to be seen as a nutcase and potentially lose out on a promotion. Others believe there could be something a bit more conniving at play, that no serious action is taken because a highly advanced and top-secret drone program is responsible for the sightings. Even some of the witnesses have entertained that possibility. For instance, Sean Cahill, who was the chief master-at-arms on board the Princeton, perceived the inaction of senior staff as a clear sign that the UFOs were known military assets. But as previously mentioned,
I often think about this, right? Now, you and me were average citizens, right? You and me were just normal people. How much do we actually know about military equipment? Like what they really have, like China, Russia, USA. What do they really have? We're probably missing a lot there, bro. That we don't know shit about, bro.
It is difficult to believe such radical innovation could have taken place in absolute secrecy.
You think 10%? Really?
We're talking about such advanced technology, it would barely make sense in a science fiction novel. Vehicles that can exceed the speed of sound without producing any sonic booms. Vehicles that can drop or climb to virtually any altitude in a matter of seconds. Vehicles that can violently change direction of travel as if inertia was a mere suggestion. You
think the military is 100 years more advanced than we think? I don't know. I mean, the problem is you and me were idiots. We're average citizens that don't know shit. I wouldn't think if World War III breaks out, they'll bring out the fucking mechs and shit. I don't think that. I don't think so.
None of that should be possible, yet dozens of trained...
Because one thing I learned in life is that humans are not as intelligent as you think they are, on average.
Servers,
I don't know, maybe 20 years.
Impossible. The least uncomfortable solution, therefore, is to simply not believe them. Sure, the witnesses are credible, but they're not incontrovertible. Everything from optical illusions to faulty equipment could be used to cast doubt on their extraordinary tales. And without any corroborating evidence, except for this nebulous footage...
Fuck off. The US military budget for 2021 is 753 billion. Fuck off. No way. Nah, way, Alter. Military budget USA. Heilige Mama. That is 1 year? Ach du heilige Scheiße. What? Alter.
Germany has convinced everyone out military is shit. Now imagine if we have top-of-the-line army and air force. Someone invades us and we just blast them to Kingdom Come.
Who knows?
D.
Maybe we have space tigers one day. I can't believe this. I've never seen this before. I don't... You know, here, let's just talk for a second. In Germany, they cry about 3 billion. There's 3 billion missing. We have to find these 3 billion, or everything will fall apart. And this is what you... What? That's 2% of the GDP. I don't know how much money that is. Bro, and you have to tell me that some of this is getting invested in some fucking freaky shit, man. Holy moly. That's almost as much money as PewDiePie has. Whoa.
That is not a difficult task.
That is unimaginable.
As such,
Imagine
many
the good you could do
government
with that.
officials may not seem concerned because they genuinely believe there is...
Afghanistan has beaten that. Afghanistan Taliban has beaten the 700 billion. It's true.
Nothing to be concerned about.
It's actually true. You see, that comes back to my theory. Even though they have
Personally,
billions, man,
I'm
they're
left
not...
feeling very conflicted.
Humans
On the
are
one hand, I find the
often not
witness
as far as
accounts
you
quite
think they are.
compelling.
I think.
On the other, I find this grainy trilogy of dots in the sky somewhat underwhelming.
It's 3.3%
Sure, the videos
of
are
American
fascinating,
GDP.
but they're also far too ambiguous to provide any decisive answers. I highly recommend that you seek out and listen to some of the witness accounts so that you can judge for yourself. This is very much a developing situation. By the time you watch this video, chances are more information will have been released. According to Elizondo, the Nimitz and Roosevelt encounters are just the tip of the iceberg. Sightings by military personnel are said to be commonplace, it's just that we rarely hear about them. I can only hope that more evidence is released in the near future, and that at least one video depicts something inexplicable.
Very
Something that
stuff,
is
man.
unidentified because it defies explanation.
After all this, it looks like there's something out there. I really believe these objects exist. Why would they lie? The question is really, what are they?
Not because it's too distant,
And I wouldn't think they're
too
alien.
small, or otherwise too obscure. No, but something truly extraordinary.
That is crazy.
That's what I want to see.
Wow.